discussions, and I believe it is now time for us here to focus on this vision of ensuring access to quality and inclusive ECCE in this country. This is not an impossibility. Many countries have done it. Even our neighbors, Rwanda, Zambia, and other many African countries, which are actually considered poorer than us. So we need to put our hearts there so that we ensure that at least government takes on, for a start, at least 1 year. And I'm happy to note that the commissioners of the Education Policy Review Commission are with us and have been able to pick a lot of information from this symposium, and I believe that they will use that information to carry our voice to the powers that be, so that when the Education Policy Review report is out, this will be one of the key recommendations. I want now to invite Lydia Mobiru to take us through the communique before we can invite our chief guest to officially close this symposium. Lydia.
Thank you, Dr. Cleophas, and our guests. We thank you so much for being part of our closing session after very engaging discussions and deliberations by a myriad of stakeholders on the youngest children in this country that make a huge percentage of our population. We are happy that we are coming to the end of this symposium, and we appreciate the Ministry of Education for providing for us an opportunity to discuss key issues that take human capital development for this country forward. I thank you for the opportunity to present the outcome statement on the commitments to action for collective effort to accelerate early access to quality and inclusive early childhood care and education for 28th to 29th March 2023. The preamble is that appreciating and noting that over 300 participants, including the Honorable Minister of State for Primary Education, Honorable Members of Parliament, Director Basic and Secondary Education, Commissioners, Assistant Commissioners from key ministries, including Ministry of Education, Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, Ministry of Health, National Children's Authority, faith-based organizations, delegates from UNICEF, World Bank, professionals and experts, district local governments, academia, civil society organizations, and the media all participated in the National Early Childhood Care and Education Symposium organized by the Ministry of Education and Sports. Thanking the Ministry of Education for having hosted this event that aims to, 1, reaffirm the right of every young child to quality early childhood care and education from 3 to 5 years of age. 2, reflect and assess the general performance of ECCE services. 3, develop actionable strategies for improved ECCE delivery. And 4, agree on benchmarks for multi-stakeholder collaboration and coordination for early childhood care and education at national and subnational levels. Now, recognizing that as inequalities and disparities in the development and learning start early and often persist throughout life, access to inclusive and quality ECCE is an important enabler of well-being and holistic development, foundational and lifelong learning, gender equality, social equity, and sustainable development, where all children can have an opportunity to reach their full potential, and noting that the achievements, challenges, and prospects that have been taken over these last few years, and the remaining challenges such as fragmented policies, limited regulation and coordination of ECCE providers, insufficient public provision and underfunding, and noting the call to action by the 3 to 5 year children that stood before us on day 1, making their asks to government and all of us, and the opening remarks of the Minister of State for Primary Education, and the remarks by the development partners, with our commitment board that is still here, the panel presentations that were very engaging, insightful, the discussions from our moderators, papers by experts in this room, implementers, practitioners, policymakers, and academia on ECC advancement, we all highlighted the following as key issues and challenges that have persisted within the management, delivery, and provision of early childhood care and education in Uganda, the private-led ECCE provision with limited roles of government anchored in the Education Act, the unqualified and unprofessional caregivers and teachers of ECCE, the inadequate funding for early childhood care and education that has become a song in this subsector, the inadequate capacity of the system players, leaders, teachers, parents, the child development players, just heard about the child from the child care session, the lack of timely and relevant data for early childhood care and education, the poor parenting, that parents hold a very big role in everything that we have been talking about, the enrollment of underage children in P1 and the cost that it has for government, albeit the lack of funding for ECCE, the lack of ECC specific basic requirements and minimum standards, the uncoordinated interventions and approaches by partners. We continue to work in silos, the less prioritization of ECCE for children with special needs, and the less priority given to early childhood care and education in the planning and budgeting offices or roadmaps, or even when the plans come out. And we all underscoring the need to collectively advance ECCE, especially for the most vulnerable children, and our urgent call to enable young children access quality and inclusive ECCE. The following recommendations and resolutions have been agreed upon for implementation by all stakeholders towards a renewed commitment through a collective approach to be actualized maybe over the next 2 years and in the future. I would like to repeat and say, we are making the following recommendations and resolutions for implementation by all of our stakeholders towards a renewed commitment through a collective approach that altogether we can do much more. There's been a myriad of action points from the sessions, but we have tried to summarize some of them, giving the long term and some that should be immediate action points for us to go back home with, to reflect upon, to sleep over, and see what should be the next steps based on what we are all doing in our capacities. The first one is on equitable and inclusive access to ECCE. Government should adopt the public-private partnership in financing early childhood care and education. This has been reiterated through our symposium. The review of the Education Act, which we know is long-term, but we are blessed to have the Education Policy Review Commission in the room. We would like to have the review of the Education Act to allow government provide for ECCE. It continues to be a barrier and a huge hindrance, not just to access, but to this kind of dialogue. Adopt a standardized, simple, and community-led homegrown models to support access to quality ECCE services. Develop and implement targeted interventions for the marginalized and poverty-stricken areas. Approve the early childhood care and education policy to provide a framework for delivery, provision, and standardization. Provide documented evidence on the benefits of ECCE. We should collaborate with UNICEF on the ongoing best benefits cost analysis study. Integrate ECCE in the implementation of the parish development model, starting with a focus on mindset change for parents and communities. And we document all the models. This room has a number of very good models, promising solutions for early childhood care and education that we have not documented, and every time we have dialogue with government, we don't seem to bring these out to provide an opportunity, but also give government hope that it's actually possible. I just want to add, and this is not in the communique, that I think this dialogue keeps having a discussion that has been going on for some time now around the fact that early childhood care and education is expensive. It is expensive. But we have models in the room that we have seen, even during the breakaway sessions, that show that actually it's possible to deliver ECCE in ways that are affordable. Can we be able to start to have conversations more around those models and see if it's a way to start this conversation? So under access and access, we have two main immediate actions that came through the sessions, that ECCE partners and all stakeholders should strategize to dialogue with the top management of Ministry of Education and Sports on a clear partnership for provision and delivery of ECCE, and we continue to engage with the Policy Review Commission to ensure that ECCE is prioritized in the recommendations of the Commission and subsequent draft white paper for education. Under quality, we've agreed to strengthen the capacity of local governments to monitor and inspect the operationalization of ECCE. We need the development of the ECCE-specific basic requirements and minimum standards. We need to enforce the use of the learning framework across all ECCE institutions, integrate the learning through play approach into the ECCE policy, early learning framework, and the teacher training curriculum, standardize the LTP approaches by the different partners to ensure it's adopted as a policy direction for ECCE delivery, support the enforcement of ECCE standards by DES and the local governments, mainstreaming of gender in ECCE training and development and delivery, adopting a hybrid approach that combines home, community, and school approaches, and the rollout of a national CPD or continuous professional development program for ECCE teachers. We've put some few here for immediate action. One, we've requested that NCDC should organize a meeting for ECCE stakeholders to participate in the ongoing review of the ECCE curriculum. The different stakeholders here have ways through which ECCE teachers can easily utilize the curriculum to support learning. So we request for an immediate action, a meeting to dialogue with NCDC on the ongoing review of the curriculum. The teacher training department to undertake a study on, and that profiles all teacher targeted interventions by different partners, because all of us are training here and there and there. Can the TED department support us to put this all together and see how we work in a more harmonized way, but within the framework that you have provided? There's to finalize the development of the BRMS, I think I have talked about that, and enforcement of the existing early learning and development standards. We have an action point on coordination, strengthen the coordination and collaboration for ECCE at national and district level through a clear coordination mechanism. We have the ECCE working group, but we continue to have challenges around coordination, and so it may be important to have a coordination mechanism for early childhood care and education. We have action points on research. We need to work with academia. This symposium was full of professionals from the different universities that have a lot of ideas, experience, and sometimes they too can really push some of the agendas that we are pushing forward ahead. So we need to work with academia more, first of all, to publish an online journal on ECCE, support the development of an ECCE repository that brings together ongoing research on ECCE that can be utilized also for practice. And then finally, we agree that we are going to continue working together as stakeholders and keep the dialogue going, not just as an annual symposium, but more through the different the community of practices that have been established and the working group on early childhood care and education. These and many others have been put forward by a combination of all stakeholders in this room, and this outcome statement is witnessed by key stakeholders and participants of the National ECCE Symposium and endorsed on this 23rd day of March 2023. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard for yourselves. In case there is an area which you feel that has been left out, please point it out so that it can be included, in case there is something that is missing. I'm waiting for responses. Is everything catered for? Silence means consent. Okay. Abd Malik.
Thank you, Chair, for this session. I propose that things are
Who is seconding? Dio Madiokolo. That is okay. Pre-Matters Consortium, National Cultural Development Center. Okay. So I'm not able to say properly because we're a bit far from here. So thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I think the Secretariat deserves a clap from us. And we should also congratulate ourselves for having successfully come to the end of this symposium. Ladies and gentlemen, we had Mr. Mondo Chateka and Joyce Nairobi, who are our masters of ceremony for the 2 days. They deserve a heavy hand clap. We want to make this closing ceremony brief. We have heard the statement of commitment, a call for action. I will ask our guests here to just make a statement of commitment, because we may not be able to sign from here. Starting with the representative of the local government, be followed by the representative of civil society organizations, that is by Plan International. Then I will ask my brother, representative of the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development, to make a statement. Then he will be followed by the representative of the UNICEF country rep, who will also invite our chief guest to address us, and then that should mark the end of this symposium. So without wasting any more time, I would like to invite the Dio Chegegwa to make a statement on behalf of local governments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner. On behalf of the local governments of Uganda and on behalf of education managers, I wish to state that we confirm and we shall be part of the implementation of the statement and all that there is. I just beg for your support and commitment too. I thank you.
Thank you, moderator, our guests of honor, and the representative from different walks of Uganda. I want to take the honor on behalf of the civil society organizations and the Plan International to re-echo our commitment in supporting the recommendations of this symposium, and we pray that we join hands and we believe that together we can to ensure that no child is left behind, and putting the girl child at the forefront. We pledge. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner, and thank you everybody for attending this very important symposium. We want from the bottom of our hearts as Minister of Gender, Labor and Social Development to thank everybody for articulating the issues so well. As a ministry, we believe that the family is has a sacred position in the development of our country, and we shall gear our activities towards strengthening the family institution to play its role. We are in the process of coming up with a family policy. We already came up with parenting guidelines. We are coming up with some kind of standards and curriculum for the family, for the parenting guidelines. We are contributing towards building resilient community systems via the cultural institutions and the other institutions that fall under our docket. We are working on issues to do with mindset change. We realize that there are a number of things that parents do and families do are based on the